Hey guys, we are approaching week number 4, which is the finals of the Celebrity Clash League. And this time around, I want to share purely what we saw in the past and what we're likely to see in the future. Starting off with the two teams that we are going to be seeing in the finals is the KTLs and Upstanding Citizens. Upstanding Citizens had a rocky start in the beginning. They lost their first game against the KTLs, and it was pretty chaotic. It seemed like everyone was kind of on roles they weren't comfortable with, and then suddenly some roles were swapped around a little bit, and they started doing really well, winning a 2-0 and then winning a 2-1. And now they're in a good spot to essentially get another shot at taking down the KTLs. However, the KTLs are 6-0. They have 2-0'd every single team that they've gone against without even losing a single game. They've always seemed very strong and dominant. There was only one game that they started a little behind and then came back later. But otherwise, they've always been ahead. So the KTLs are going to be dominant. What the strategy of the KTLs have been so far is Lakefu can play any healer. She has showed us that she can play any healer. If she can get Ariel, she tries to grab Ariel first. If not, Yrel is picked up first by Liam, and he's played Yrel in all 6 games. Dominating with Yrel in all 6 games. I think the only exception was... Actually, no, he did play Yrel in even the Cho'Gall game. Leon Black can play every single tank, but he is really dominant on Mal'Ganis. We've seen him bring out the Cho'Gall and be just so brutal on that Cho'Gall. So they can deal with anything. We've seen Kagiri with Li Ming doing 90 to 100,000 hero damage. Giving her Li Ming is a death sentence on maps that you can't hide behind other things. So with that in mind, and with Tatsuki as well, I mean, I'm going to let Baja talk about Tatsuki because he is all for her being the dark horse. That is the strategy on their team. Get Ariel. If they don't, go for Yrel, as well as, depending on the map, sneak out Cho'Gall. But what has Upstanding Citizen's strategy been so far? Well, we've seen them bring out Deathwing a few times, and Deathwing successfully. They were the only ones who were able to find success with Deathwing. They bring Deathwing out in the 4-man, which is a little interesting for me because I still think Deathwing's a solo laner. They've brought out Tychus and done very well with Tychus. They've brought out the Lost Vikings, and they've done very well with the Lost Vikings. But their strategy tends to be grabbing that Ana and utilizing Ana with Coffee, who is usually playing a burst assassin. Something that can take things out very quickly, and then they shot call that game after they get kills so they can get some more advantages from that. Allura has been dominating on Ragnaros and dominating on Lunara. But when Lunara's banned, she tends to be forced onto the Ragnaros, so their strategy does kind of shift around a little bit whenever that ends up happening. And that's, I think, why Deathwing keeps being put into the 4-man, is she gets thrown into the solo lane, and they adjust from there. They are surprisingly good at adjusting with a small roster pool, still able to move around and have a very solid comp. Those are the strategies for these two teams as we've seen them so far. Now that both of these teams knows the strategies of the other's team, it all comes down to how they want to answer it, which is why it's going to make these games so exciting. We've seen nearly the same strategy every time from the KTLs, and a completely different strategy every time from Upstanding Citizens. So one team needs to go and try to answer a single strategy that is tried and true, while the other team has to maybe deal with 50 different strategies and they just don't know. I think the most difficult part for the KTLs is how they're going to answer the Lost Vikings. Because Turk plays a mean Lost Vikings, and the macro side of the KTLs has been kind of their weaker side so far. It's pretty much just been Yrel handling whatever macro has been missing, and then their team just winning in team fights every time. So if the Vikings play really well, and if they get through, that's going to be the biggest challenge for the KTLs. On the opposite side for Upstanding Citizens, they need to deal with Yrel, and they also need to get rid of Mal'Ganis. Dids played a mean Mal'Ganis, which means that he could take the Mal'Ganis away from Leon, as well as they could ban Yrel, but then that might leave up the Deathwing, that might leave up the Ariel, that might leave up Cho'Gall. So it's going to come down to how they decide to answer these couple things. Do they ban them? Do they take them? Or do they have a different strategy in mind? We'll have to find out this Wednesday in the Celebrity Clash League.